Hey, welcome to Trial by Father. I'm Isaac, and as a brand new dad, I've got more questions than I have answers for. So, I'm sitting across the table from other parents who are further along the journey than I am, hoping to learn from their wisdom. I want to explore what it looks like to raise children in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. And my hope is that it'll spark meaningful conversations around your own table so that we can all learn what it looks like to be the parents God has called us to be. In this episode, I got to sit back down with Chet Phillips, one of the pastors of our church, and ask him again about discipline. This time, I wanted to ask him about the nuts and bolts. What does it actually look like in the day-to-day life of a parent who's trying to discipline their children well? I hope this conversation is encouraging to you. And with that, let's dive in. Well, I guess we're jumping right back into a conversation. For somebody else, this will probably be a different time. But for you and I, it's back to back. We're just having this conversation again. Yep. We just had what was an hour-long conversation about the big picture philosophy definition of discipline, what it is. And I think it was a super helpful discussion. I have no idea what's going to happen in editing. If it's going to stay 50 minutes worth of content, it's going to be 25-minute.
Might be 6 minutes worth of good content.
That is very true. So let's make another 6 minutes worth of good content. But in this conversation, I want to talk more nuts and bolts of discipline. And so I think the conversation we had is very helpful. I think it's actually a conversation that should come first in most people's mind whenever they're thinking about discipline. That's at least how it's been for me as I've been trying to form my understanding of what I'm stepping into as a dad. And so, but I also do have plenty of questions about the actual practice of it whenever you actually get into the real life scenarios where you happen to deal with kids. And so first, let's talk briefly about intensity of discipline. It showed up a little bit in the last conversation we were having, but just to kind of lay a little bit of a foundation of everything that needs correcting surely doesn't need always the most intense version of discipline, and also vice versa. Do you have any kind of framework for thinking about the intensity of the way that you would approach discipline?
So some of it, I think, is how intense you have to be for it to be effective. And then was it defiant or rebellious or whatever? So there were certain like threshold crossing things that was like, so for example, my older son would scream at his mom, "No, you're going to get spanked. And I'm going to get there quickly." Because I wanted him to feel the same way that parents will react. And this is one of those things where it's like when you understand that what we're going for is joy, and when you understand that what we're going for is like rebellion and your heart is bad, and if you don't learn how to relate to God, like these things matter.
Sure.
Parents will yell at their children, no, when they're near a fire. Rightfully so.
Sure. Yep.
Oh, Archer, just clap your hands, whatever. And little kids, because you don't usually talk to them like that. Most of the time you're talking to them like this, hey, buddy, like, whatever. And so you would do those things for the sake of, I'm trying to imprint in your mind danger.
Yeah.
I would do the same thing. You yell at your mom, Archer, clap my hands, whatever, move over there quickly. Like, he'd look at me like, oh, something just happened. It's like, yeah, something just happened. You just threw a thing at your mom. Like, this isn't, whatever. And did it in anger. It wasn't even like, now sometimes it's like, hey, buddy, we don't play like that. You're playing and you did something. Sure. Other times it's like, no, she told you no, so you threw a thing at her. Unacceptable.
Sure.
That starts real little. And so there are certain things that are like that. Across the threshold, we automatically have already reached the territory. You did it once. I'm not even giving you a warning. Hey, buddy, don't charge your mom. Like, no, I'm wanting to draw a line here for that. Then it's just will they listen? Can I correct them? Will they just hear me say, stop that? And most kids won't. At least not at first. They have to learn. Well, what happens if I don't? And the little kids are doing this with their whole world. Cause and effect. What happens?
Yeah.
They're trying to learn what English is. So I would look at Archer and I would say, all right, if you do that again, you're going to get popped. And you could see him look like, I wonder what that sentence means. I remember looking at him one time going, you don't understand these words. but I'm going to pull you out of your high chair and you're going to get spanked. You don't even know it's spank's a new word, but that's going to happen. You do that again. And I remember him looking at me like, and then he's going to try to figure out, what does that mean? What does that look like? Are you actually going to do that? When you start counting at a kid, all right, 1, 2, how high are we going to count? When you say to a kid, I'm going to count to 3, they don't know what does that mean? You're talking to a 2-year-old. I'm going to count to 3. So the first few times, you're going to get the 3. Most of the, they might can check tone of I don't, maybe you got a real smart kid who's like, I don't want to get to whatever counting to 3 means. But most kids are going to have, and then the thing has to happen.
Sure.
Whatever the thing is you're going to do, so that their world makes sense. The same way that you say, don't, whatever, there's got to be boundaries around that's hot, and you stick it in their mouth and it's hot or whatever. It's it's connected to some real world thing. That's how they're framing up the world. So there are things where I'm going to correct the behavior if I can verbally do it. If I can just say, hey, stop that or don't do that or whatever. There are certain things that need more explanation. So I might correct the behavior and then I'll tell them why. Stop that. You shouldn't talk like that to your brother. Here's why. And these are just constant, daily, whatever. But you correct your kids all the time when you say things like, no, that's not green, that's blue.
Sure.
That's not how that works. That's not how you spell that word.
Sure.
I know that makes sense. Sometimes your kids will do something that's actually really smart, but so stupid. It's it's such a clever way to have figured out something so wrong. And it's I can see your brain working, but you don't understand how the world works at all. So you said the dumbest thing ever. But I like how smart you are to come up with that completely ignorant solution.
Yeah.
And so, but you're correcting them all the time. That's not that. That's not this. That's not that. They call things the wrong name. You whatever. And so do the normal stuff of I'm correcting them on no, sit down. No, put that down. No, don't use it like that. Whatever. And if they'll listen, cool. I want it to be super simple.
Sure. Set
that down. You're not getting spanked. Why would you get spanked for that? You did exactly what I asked you to do,
Sure.
So we escalate. I told you to set that down. Put it down, or you're going to whatever. And most of the time with me, it's you're going to get popped when they're little, or So it was are they acknowledging what I'm saying? Are they listening to what I'm saying? Does correction work? You might find that with older kids, you can say, come in here, sit down, and explain to them why they did. I've had these conversations with my older son now when he's 7 or 8, 9, and I'd say, I'm talking to you right now. You are not going to get spanked. I'm going to talk to you because my hope is you'll listen and we won't do this again. We'll change our behavior.
Sure.
If, I'm telling you right now, if you do what you just did again, there will be no talking. You will get spanked. Do you understand me? We'll have those kind of conversations. So, no, I don't have a good other than there are some that immediately cross a barrier, and that's really in the complete lack of respect, dishonoring your mom.
Yeah.
Something that's just egregious. You might immediately get spanked if I see you try to stab your brother with a kitchen knife or whatever. We haven't reached any of those things.
Sure.
It's mostly just been the defiant stuff. You tell them to go to bed and they pick up a toy and they're going to slam it on the ground or whatever. It's no, you're going to immediately get spanked for that. Otherwise, it's if you'll do what I say, if you'll sit down, if you'll calm down, if you'll be quiet. And most of the time I tell my children, okay, this is the last time I'm saying this. If you do this again, you'll get spanked. I also would give my kids choices. And these were I remember being at lunch with Archer was not eating. He was having a bad attitude. I looked at him and said, Archer, you can calm yourself down and eat your food, or I will take you outside. You will get spanked. Then you will calm yourself down and eat your food. So do you want to do it on your own, or do you need to get spanked first? That's a question I've asked my boys over and over again. Are you going to do this on your own, or do you need to get spanked first? You're still going to do the thing. And he looked at me and he went, I'll calm down. And I said, that's great, buddy. That's what I would have chosen.
Yeah.
That's so smart. That's the one I would have picked. I try to encourage that or whatever. And I remember a friend of mine who was with me, he said, man, that's so manipulative. And I was like, no, it's not. Those were his actual 2 choices. I'm correcting him. I'm training him, but he's not, one of his options isn't sit here, be miserable, ruin our lunch, not eat his food. That's not an option.
Sure.
So I would do that sometimes, and then they could pick.
Sure.
sometimes they would say they were going to pick this one, and they actually, by their actions, I would say, no, and we'd go.
You pick the other one. Yeah. It seems like, I mean, you already said it, but in the way you were talking about it, it seemed like it really is max intensity of, we'll just say that goes straight to popping or spanking, whatever, or whether it build up to it, is that it really is an issue of respect, honor, obedience to you as parents. Because even in your examples where you're saying, hey, I'm telling him put it down, and he doesn't put it down, and I come and tell him put it down again, you're not really at the point of where he's getting popped or spanked or whatever. That's not predicated upon you didn't put the thing down.
Right, so you're not listening to me.
It's that you're not listening
you're
to
being
me
defiant
at that point.
So, for example, I have come and I've found one of my boys drawing on the wall. He did not immediately get spanked for that. But that's a very bad thing to do. He's not going to do that in my house.
Yeah.
But he got corrected. No. We're not doing that. You cannot do that. But he's told, I catch you drawing on the wall again, you will be spanked. Now we know. Now we've had a conversation. Sure. Now you will be defiant when you're doing it next time. It won't be an accident. It won't be you have 0 cents because 2-year-olds have 0 cents. It'll be, we've talked about this and you did it anyway.
Sure. Basically, when the boundary becomes clear and there is blatant crossing of the boundary for lack of regard for the authority that has set it up, that's so dangerous that it needs to be addressed intensely.
Yeah.
The intensity of the heart behind the child who gets to that point needs to be met with an intensity of discipline.
Yeah. Also, so yes, cosmically, eternally, we pull that out. That's where we're getting. Shrink that way down, and our house doesn't function if the kids won't listen to us.
Sure.
If I can't direct you verbally, our house won't function. I can't walk through a parking lot with you. Like we just can't function. And then you stretch it back out, and this is the other thing that the real world consequences for you not listening to me, because I'm a padding for your existence when you're little, when you're 4, when you're 5, when you're 6, there aren't any. Other than I dislike you over time, and that affects our relationship. I would explain to my boys sometimes, I would say, if y'all don't listen to me, you won't know it. If you don't listen to the adults around you, if you don't behave, you won't know it. But your granddad won't take you fishing. Sure. He won't tell you he's not taking you fishing, but he won't take you fishing. Because he'll think, no, that would be torture. Sure. So, no, I'm not doing that. Your mom won't take you to the zoo. You won't know you're not going to the zoo. I tried to put it in some terms, but it's more than that. It's like these consequences are further down the road. So I, who am their padding for all of existence, bring a consequence in that they can feel, that they can know, so that they have some reality of, and it's one that I control. I get to control the intensity level of it, but there's going to be a consequence for them because the real world consequences are worse and further away, and they won't be able to connect them. They won't know, but they can connect this, and so that we can help change what's going on with them.
Sure. It also seemed like, one last thing on this before we jump on. And so you're talking about, right now you're in the stage where your kids are older, and especially with the oldest one, Archer, that you're trying to have more conversations before you get to intensity point. But you drag it all the way back to where the zone that Lydia and I are about to step into. We're not stepping into that zone.
Yeah.
That's the zone where I have functioned more in my experience of working with kids. So I've got a little bit more of that muscle built up.
Right.
So it's probably gonna be hard for me actually to go back to here. But so would you say that how does that work? When I'm working with a 7-month-old and you say you got to start this at 7 months old.
Yeah.
I don't get to say, hey, 7-month-old, listen to me and obey, or I'm about to, because it doesn't. That words don't communicate. Over time, you can build in that communication. And you got to start simple and whatever. Right. But actions communicate. That's my understanding, at least.
Well, it's both.
Okay.
The little kids are going to get to where before they say ball, before they say water, before they whatever.
They understand the word.
They understand the word.
Okay.
they're going to be tracking with you. And that's what I was saying last time was like he was already learning things. Sure. And they're understanding language way better before they're using it.
Sure, fair enough.
So they are using it in a sense that they're understanding it. But so what I would say is that, and this is throughout life, my pleasure and displeasure are they're commodities in my household. Your displeasure towards a 9-month-old will be felt by the 9-month-old. They've only ever felt your pleasure in general. I mean, they may have seen you and Lydia argue while they were screaming at 3 a.m. But they've mostly from you only had pleasure. They've only had kindness and smiles and the stuff that you do with a little kid because you love them dearly, So when you look at them and go, no, even for like a 1-year-old, it's like, well, what is that? This isn't how you talk to me. What is that?
Sure.
And so, and it's actually right. This is the thing that's too. And I'm not talking about like a sick, manipulative, come seek my pleasure son. But like my son should want me to smile at them. This is what kids do all the time. Daddy, 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 look at this, look at this, daddy, daddy, daddy. Yeah. They want you to look and go, hey, good job. And so that's a thing that they should get from me when they're doing what they're supposed to. And displeasure is a thing they should get from me when they're not. And this should work. I shouldn't smile when they slap their brother, and I shouldn't scowl when they, do their homework or whatever. So you would start with some of that, so that saying no is little kids don't like that, and they can, sometimes that works. They just I don't like.
Would you say the words themselves matter, but maybe tone matters more in that zone where they can pick up on?
Yes,
they're not picking up on definitions of words, but they can pick up on the tone, the intensity of the way it's said.
Yes, but you should use tone. Tone matters, but you also should use the words you're going to use.
Sure.
So that they're learning. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Before the kid can count to 3, they'll probably know what you counting to 3 means.
Yeah.
And then when Sesame Street starts doing it, they're going to be like, oh my goodness, this is going to go really badly. Get that count out of here. This is going to go terrible. I don't know why he's so happy about this. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like there's some amount of you're helping to find, and thankfully, when you're trying to correct a little kid, you're not going to be tempted. Well, I've seen parents, no. And it's like, that doesn't help them. Say, no, don't do that. And then go back to your nice, kind, whatever, to try to help the kid register, whatever.
Sure.
And so, I would say tone, and you don't have to be super intense with little kids, but tone, and then follow through. So if you say, all right, give me that, or you're going to get popped, they're not going to give it to you, most likely. So pop them. It doesn't have to be terrible. The first time you grab their little hand and do this, they're like,
sure.
You're not trying to hurt them.
Yeah.
Now, eventually, you're going to do things that hurt. And I actually am. I'm not trying to harm them. I want this to hurt a little bit.
You know, be felt.
Yeah, they gotta feel it. Otherwise, it's not an actual consequence. Yeah. Otherwise, you'd air spank them from across the room. Like it's like, no, I want it to sting. Yeah, I want it to crack. That's not gonna work. I want it to sting. I want it to hurt a little bit. And so with little kids, you get to where, but at first, it's basically nothing. That you're trying to, but you're just trying to make it to where they understand what I did wasn't good, and then go back to being in line with whatever.
Yeah. All right, let's jump and dive deep a little bit more in this idea of spanking. Popping seems like you're differentiating language between popping is when they're little and it's maybe like on the hand or something, and then as we get older, we can start to look at spanking more as an option. It's like transition. I'm assuming some period, something like that. But anyways, I think spanking probably is a taboo word.
Yeah, maybe.
There are probably people that are listening to this. Of course, that's assuming that people are listening.
I think people who spank their kids a lot of times just don't talk about it.
Could be.
I think there's like an underground network of people who spank their kids and they're just not going to talk about it. They just do it for the sake of their kids. But they also, why would you talk about it a lot? It seem like a psychopath and have people cause you problems or whatever.
Well, that's fair enough. I think it is worth talking about.
I think so too. But I mean, you can see I'm talking into a microphone.
Yes. I think it's worth it to dispel some of the cultural misnomer associated with it, and then also to have a system that is effective for the goal that's trying to be reached.
So I came from a household where I was spanked.
Same.
And I came from a household where that was done in a very measured. A lot of the things I'm doing with my boys were done with me. My dad did not come from that household.
Gotcha.
He came from a household where he was physically disciplined, but not in any sort of measured or. So he overcame that to rein it in and to do it the way he wanted to do it. And then I'm doing basically very similar things that he did. I maybe talk about some of the things differently with my boys or whatever, but a very, very similar kind of setup.
Yeah.
My popping and spanking difference. I began by popping hands. And that's because with little kids, mostly, their hands are the things that are causing the problems. They're touching an outlet. They're slapping their cups off the table. They're grabbing you, whatever. So you just, no. When they get a little bit older, I would take 2 fingers and you can pop them on their leg. Mm-hmm. You can also full hand pop on a diaper. And the truth is, the sensation of I've been popped sometimes is enough for kids or whatever. Some kids, that diaper, their rear end is already padding. They have more padding. And depending on what kind of kid you're dealing with, they're just rolling right past that. Sure. So Anna would pop Archer every once in a while, and I'm like, that's this close to, that's almost like a go get 'em boy. Like that's not, you haven't really done anything. So you can do 2 fingers on the back of their leg or whatever. And the point is, it stings a little bit. We're not harming them. I'm never, and I said this last time, I think it's worth saying again. I'm not angry.
Sure.
I really think there was 1 or 2 times when I've gotten emotionally invested, but I'm the parent with a child. Like this shouldn't be something where I'm like, I'm corrective behavior. We're doing, this is systematic, I may sound more angry to them. I'm doing that on purpose, but I'm not. I can close the door, walk out and laugh to Anna. Like I'm not,
Sure. They're not controlling you. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, so there've been like once or twice where I in those situations was like, you need to sit here, or whatever, and I calm myself down because I don't want it to be that.
Sure.
Hitting my child while I'm angry, that's not a thing. So okay. Popping then, without diapers and stuff, was on the rear end. I would say talk to my boys, and then I would say you're gonna get popped, and I would say it's once or twice or whatever, and then I would hold my hand out here. They would place both of their hands on my hand. And I would say, okay, you're going to get popped. And then I would pop their rear end once or twice. I wanted it to sting. And then hug them. I'm already down on one knee with them, talking to them. Their hands are here, whatever. Some of the reason I have their hands here is so that they understand this is all very controlled. I'm not losing it, whatever.
Sure. And
also so that they don't use their hands to try to, I want them to grab my hand. So they're not trying to block me. I'm not trying to hit their arms.
Sure.
I feel more like I could probably hurt them if I had to hit their arms. Like I'm not trying to get your little hands out of the way, and I understand you have the natural desire to block what I'm about to do. Let's not do that. Just put your hands here. Yeah. And so that they were ready in some ways. It's like they would stand and go, oh, and I'm going to get you. Come on, reach up, grab my hand, whatever. There are times when I would quickly pop a child or scoop a kid up and pop them, when they were little. But as they got this, I'm talking like a 4 or 5-year-old or whatever. If I'm going to pop them, they were going to hold my hand.
Sure.
When they were able to kind of understand what we were doing. Belt. I've done 1 lick or 2. And most of the time you only get to 2 by when I'm telling you you're going to get spanked once. You're not complying. We've already gotten to the point where you're getting spanked. And I'll say, okay, if you don't calm yourself down, if you don't whatever, we're going to go to 2. Thankfully, and this is the truth, because of starting this so early with little children, we've never gotten to the place. I don't have a 10-year-old who, honestly, if at this point he was like, you're not spanking me, it'd be kind of hard to figure out what I was going to do next.
Sure.
I'd figure something out because I can't have a 10-year-old who's not going to listen to me in my house. We'll figure that out. I don't know what that is going to be. It may take me a minute. But he complies because partially he knows if he keeps pushing it, it can get worse.
Sure.
Yeah. He doesn't know what that is, just like I don't know what that is, but we both know we could get there and we don't want to. So I've only ever spanked with about 2 licks. I mean, maybe twice. It's not often. It's mostly just one. And the reason I told Anna at one point, I said, I'm moving from my hand to a belt because I don't want to get to where I'm having to hit them so hard with my hand. I'm done
Sure.
ratcheting
For it to be
up.
felt with you,
Yes.
it needs to be.
I have bones and stuff in here. I'm not trying to karate chop my children, whatever.
Sure.
I said, we're going to get, belt has, it's like you can pop somebody with a towel
Yeah.
and it hurts.
And you feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're not wounded.
Yeah.
It hurts. That's what a belt is. And now if you curled it over and went to beat, you could cause some serious problems. But that's not what I'm doing. They're laying flat. They know how many licks they're getting, and I do one lick across the rear end.
Sure. You're using it for the sake of control, basically.
Yeah.
It becomes
It stings.
Yeah.
It has some amount of nobody wants to get, I wouldn't want to get spanked with a belt today. I'm an adult, it hurts, but we get to move on, and it's not gonna cause any kind of lasting damage or anything like that.
Yeah. I can remember the times of being spanked, and it wasn't until later when we were older where our father had talked to us about kind of growing up and looking back in the past and whatever, and kind of talked to us about what their system was for the approach. And when it was a time when it had moved to the zone of getting spanked, I don't remember popped at all, but getting spanked, that it was that we would always move to a different location. Mm-hmm. Typically, if we're in the house or something, maybe like in the bathroom or something, he'd always talk to us about what was going on. He said he had a rule of 3. Within 3 hits, he wanted us to start to tear up. That was the felt part. It needed to be felt, so it was that. And then, the age that I remember, we weren't in diapers, so it was also like wooden spoon, something like that, and on the butt, and that was it. And then after, it was talk about how he loves us, gives us a hug. We go back to whatever the thing was, but it was very systematized. We always knew exactly what was happening. Yes, we felt it. There's no doubt about that. I don't think I can look back and ever say that I questioned in that my father loved me in that act. Mm-hmm. And I think that's some of the fear of this kind of thing, that you're traumatizing your kid for causing physical pain for this thing. But as somebody who's existed inside of a healthy system, what I would say is a healthy system, and I would say it's healthy based on looking at myself and my relationship with my dad,
right,
is I'm super thankful for it.
Right.
And no, it's not enjoyable, but it creates enjoyment. Some of the stuff that we've already got to talk about.
Getting spank's the worst.
Yeah, it's not exciting.
But I honestly, if you said, hey, I want to send you back through a household where they don't discipline, they don't do this, or you can go back into the one you're in, I would be back in the one I was in so fast.
Sure.
Because I see the fruit of it and the what it did in life for me to be disciplined in that manner.
Yeah.
And also, that's what I'm saying. It's like you come hang around my kids. They're not. These aren't abused children. They are disciplined, but they're not. We're bouncing around mostly just enjoying ourselves. And because they know where things go, they mostly are correctable.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I can mostly. It's very rare. I'm not spanking them all the time. Now I popped. Children get popped a lot more than they've gotten spanked.
Sure. They're still in that boundary testing.
Yeah, they're going to see. Is it going to be the rule? Is it going to be the same today as it was yesterday, whatever? I told, in the original Jurassic Park, they were looking at the velociraptors, and they were like, she's really smart. She's checked every square inch of that fence. That's what Archer did. He was going to check every square inch of the fence. And then he would go through phases where it's like he'd do it for a while, and then it was like he'd settled in. And then he suddenly was like, let's see if they're still there. And we'd have to go do it again or whatever.
Sure.
You said something that I thought was helpful. You said it would take you to a different place. I do that as well.
Okay.
I also do that in correcting children if we're around people. The thing I'll do on Sundays sometimes is have them sit against the wall, and that's usually because what I'm correcting is they've been running laps around the room. I tell them, you're too big, you're going to murder somebody. We have older Christians here that you can't come around the corner going 100 miles an hour and run to somebody who's 85. We cannot do that.
Or a 3-year-old that you're about to
Also, we ripped all the carpet out of this place. There's concrete everywhere. We're not causing head injuries. We're running laps. So I'll do that. But otherwise, if I'm needing to, we go into another room, we go somewhere else. Even with little kids, when I'd pop them real quick, I would then walk out with them because it's hard for adults to be in interactions that are intense with an audience.
Oh yeah.
It makes it worse. And you'll be talking to a little kid, and you can watch them looking at the people, and it's like, no. I want you just listening to me, and I want you to know none of this is a show. It's just me and you. We're sorting out things. So I would always, do that. It's a big take them somewhere else to be able to correct them, to be able to do whatever you're going to do, bring them back. The other thing that I have done is that there have been times where the consequence or whatever was aimed at the behavior. So defiance, like you said, like one of those things where it's like, but like, I think you can get creative if you're trying to fix something else. So one of the things I've tried to work on is like overreacting to things, not controlling yourself when you're upset. So like at one point we had carpet in a certain room in our house, and we had stools that were a metal round base, and they were just wobbly. And if you did not sit still on them, you would fall off. Maybe adults would do better, but it was certainly true for my 3-year-old.
Sure.
So when he was acting up at times and I was correcting him, he was upset about a thing, I would sit him on the stool. And I would say, if your feet touch the ground, you will get popped. And the whole point was, be upset, but control your body.
Sure. Yeah.
You're upset, but now you have to control your body. And that was what I was working on. And he would fall off, and my wife would say, it's an accident. And I would say, of course it was an accident. But he's not doing the thing we're working on, which is controlling his body. And he's going to learn, so he get popped, whatever.
Sure.
And so there are certain things where it's like we've done some of those kind of things. Or like, I don't think you're appreciating anything, so for the rest of the day, you don't get anything you want. And you're going to learn to enjoy yourself. Like there are certain things where it's like I come up with just creative whatever. Like, and you're not getting spanked for everything.
Yeah.
But that's when I'm trying to fix a particular, the corrective thing matches the thing I'm trying to develop in you.
Sure.
If I'm trying to curb something, most of the time it's spanked. But if I'm trying to develop something, then I may come up with something else you're going to do, like work or labor or something kind of like that.
Yeah. Let's talk. I think I got 2 more specific questions on this, and then we'll wrap it up. The first is, and you and I have had this conversation some. What do you see as the benefit of this system of spanking or popping that we're talking about over other systems that are tried to be used to hit that intensity level? Versus something like a parent might do a timeout. They're not going to spank, but they're going to time out.
Right.
But you can make the comparison between those two, and then you can try to talk about it in others.
Okay, yeah. So I think that's one timeout. I've seen parents that'll take kids aside and do like, why do you think you did that? What's going on in your heart when you're acting that way or whatever? But there's no corrective thing. It's just like the conversation.
Sure.
I've seen parents that count, but then nothing happens when they get done counting, and I don't know what that system is or whatever. And I've seen parents that yell. And then ones that just like you have to like grab the kid's hand, or you're gonna go drag them around or whatever. It's just like they lose all freedom because their mom's gonna be next to them nonstop or whatever. I would say the reasons I like this system is I think it works. And I've had people say, no, I tried spanking and it didn't work. And my question always that pops up in my head is, how long did you try it? Do you mean I popped them once and they immediately acted worse? It's like, yeah, sure. Because nobody likes being popped. And if this kid's already kind of defiant and wild and you add popping in, they're not going to suddenly go, oh, let me calm down. They're going to go,
Sure.
and try to slap, it's like, and then they get popped again or whatever. It's like, these are the sort of things where it's like, so how long did you run that system? But when you sit to it, I think it's concrete. My boys kind of know where they're at.
Sure.
The punishment doesn't change. The system doesn't change. When I count to 3, like, that you were always going to get popped when I got to 3, whatever. Like, I got a 10-year-old. If I go 1, he's trained. Like,
Sure, he
this
knows
is
it's
going to
coming at 3.
immediately be like, what? And he might look at me like, why are we doing this?
Sure.
Are you for real? But he's going to be moving, you know. I could hear him yell across the room when he was 4. I'd go 1, and I'd hear him go, ah! Because he was so frustrated, but then I'd hear little feet, you know, coming or whatever. So it's concrete. It also is over so quickly. One of the things I don't like about timeouts is that I have to manage it. And if I don't have spanking, so I would every once in a while say, go sit over there, be quiet. Go sit over there. And I would do that some when my 2 boys were playing with each other and couldn't get along. They're not both getting spanked for that because that's not defiance. It's not whatever. But they're also being really crummy to each other. So I would say, you sit here, you sit here. If y'all don't know how to have fun together, then y'all can just sit and be perfectly quiet. Now, they'll get spanked if they don't do that.
Sure.
And they know that.
Yeah.
They understand the system. You know, they're going to sit or whatever. But it's like, I didn't want to do it to where every time we're playing a game and you do something, you know, whatever, you have to go sit or whatever. And then if you put a kid on a step and you say you got to sit on the step, and they get off the step, and the only punishment you have is sit on the step.
Yep.
Get back on the step. And then we do what? We go longer. Like this part of it is I don't understand the system, and I also had a son who that wouldn't have worked on.
Sure.
It might would have worked on Ellis. He was a lot easier to get along with.
Sure.
But it wouldn't have worked on Archer. Every time we put him somewhere and said, sit here, do this, whatever, he just is like, yeah, okay. Or what? Or who's going to hit me? That's basically his
Sure.
general, like, unless you're going to bring violence in, I'm already violent. If you're not matching violence, like, I'm going to win. I'll tell you I'm going to win. And so there was, so the system makes sense. It has real consequences that are quick and over. I can spank my kids and we can go right back. We can go right back to playing the game. We can go right back to, it doesn't have to be dragged out. It doesn't have to be a long set of consequences where I have to keep up with them. I have a 10-year-old. He's going to be 13. He's going to be 14. He's going to be 15. We're going to get in situations. I don't intend to be spanking a middle schooler.
Sure.
I might. I don't hope to do that. I think what I will begin replacing things with is labor. I think I may do some restriction things if it's like you're not doing this right, so I'm going to take this thing away or whatever. Sure. I may do some of that. I don't know. I'll be figuring that out as we go. But I hadn't wanted to do that with a 5-year-old. I hadn't wanted to. I have at times taken their grandparents gave them little tablets. I hate tablets.
Thanks, grandparents.
Yeah. It's fine. They can play some games and stuff on them. If I tell you to put them down and you don't put them down, there have been times where they just go somewhere else.
Sure.
And then I forget about them. And then Anna will come to me and go, the boys are wanting to know when those are coming back. And I'm like, oh, yeah. When did I take them away? I've done that where I've just taken something and said, if you're not going to listen to me, these things are not important. I'm important. You listening to me is important. Sure. So this is just gone. Sure. I've done that, but like not as a normal thing. That's happened few and far between. It's not my normal go-to, but that's because I don't want to have to manage some sort of, sure. I like it to be over with. I like it to be quick, and I like it to be the same all the time.
Yeah.
It doesn't take cleverness on my part. I don't have to be clever at all to do the system I'm doing. I just do the same thing.
Sure, it just happens. Yeah. And I like that. I liked that piece on. They know what to expect because if you read anything on like child development, psychological development, as kids are growing, lack of stability really messes with people as their brain is developing and understanding the world. And so inside of the realm of discipline, it feels like if you could create structure that is certain and clear, that it would help mitigate against any of that, like child getting bounced around. I'm sure there's a period where you're trying different things out inside of these things or whatever, but if you're just totally lost and you're over here and you're over there and you're over there, the kid's going to be tossed around so much he's not going to know what to expect, and it's probably going to be a lot harder to engage and expect anything of them, because how can you expect something of somebody when they have no idea what the next thing?
Well, and the rules change all the time, and so I would say even for the parent who says I just am not, I want to do it this way or whatever, it's like I would still say whatever your system is has to be the system, whether you're tired, whether they're hungry, whether
Sure.
they're tired, whether you've had a good day, whether you've had a bad day. You can't. The rules can't shift around on them.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that Anna and I would go back and forth on. She would say things like, "Yeah, but he's really tired," or "He hadn't eaten," and I would go, "He doesn't know that we know that."
Sure.
And he's probably not even thinking that. He just knows that he just did the thing that he's gotten spanked for 9 out of 9 times. And on the 10th time, I can't go, "Well, I think he's hungry." So now he can talk to you like that, throw that, kick. What it's like he still has to have the same system. Now we can set the environment. So we knew some days we're not taking, this kid is not capable of going to a restaurant and meeting the standard of behavior. Now, if it's just because they won't behave, then I'm going to take them to restaurants and they're going to learn what the standard of behavior is, and we'll figure that out.
Sure.
And you can take them to Burger King and teach them how to sit in a high chair. And if your kid's acting up at Burger King, you're not ruining anybody's like wedding proposal, okay? So just, and if you are, y'all, it's Burger
What
King.
restaurants are you going to that you're ruining wedding proposals with your children?
I'm just saying, like, if you're like, it's like these people have spent their good, hard-earned money to be the O'Charlies. It's like, it's like, yeah, okay, but Burger King's not. So if you're trying to teach a kid to do a thing, take them somewhere, you know. But I wanted my kids to learn how to sit in a chair and be still, like, you know. But there were some days when we're leaving our church Sunday gathering, whatever, and it's like he's exhausted. He's not going to do it. So we would be taking him to fail and get spanked 1,000 times. So we just won't go that day.
Sure.
And that's just that day. Like we can understand the situation we're in. But if he does the things he's not allowed to do, he still has to have the same consequence. Otherwise, it won't register. So parents, you have to set, this is what happens, and then you have to do it. Whatever it is, whatever you say you're going to do, you have to do it. Don't blurt out crazy things that you're not going to follow up with. Don't announce to your kid, "That's it. You'll never get another birthday present again." It's like, what? Then you've got to, were you going to hold that? Like, you're going to at least have to go back and say, "I blurted out a thing that I'm not intending to do. Here's your new consequence that's reasonable, and now I'm going to do that thing," which I have done before. I said this, I'm retracting it. Here's the new one. And so that they at least know I'm not saying things I don't do. I've told you I'm not going to do that one.
Sure.
Here's the new one I'm going to do, and I do it. But, like, your parents have to, all of this is parenting. It's all what the parent does. And so Anna would say all the time, "This really helped me." I'd be like, "Why is he acting like this?" And she'd be like, "Because he's a child. How are you acting?" And what she was getting at, what she meant was like, "What are you doing? Are you doing the same things?" Because he'll pick it up. But all kids are going to throw a fit. All kids are going to do this kind of thing. Are you responding the same way? Are we setting a pattern? What are we doing? And then if you're doing the same stuff, then he'll actually grow to the system. He'll understand it.
Sure.
If you change it up, then he can't.
Yeah.
Or she can't. I'll pretend like some people have daughters.
Yeah. We should have made a disclaimer. I was reading some book on, it wasn't parenting on these conversations. It was like how to keep your baby alive or something like that. And they were like, for the ease of writing, we will refer to the child as he. And they just accepted that from the very beginning.
From now on. Yes. For the fact that I've only raised 2 sons for 10 years.
All right. This conversation has gone on for a really long time.
All right. Sorry.
Hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't know who would apologize.
You're welcome.
I've got 2 last things we can try to hit through them quick.
All right.
First,
I'm very good at that.
in the conversation of discipline, and this could probably bleed over into a different conversation that we'll have at a different time, but at least I want to touch on it here. Should fathers be main here? In an ideal scenario, you got mom and dad that are both present in the life of a child, in the same trajectory for them. Fathers main here, setting pace, setting tone.
So
Is this too big of a can of worms to open up right here in this conversation?
I would say yes. In Timothy, it says that elders says that they're supposed to manage their household well, keeping their children submissive. Paul later is going to talk about mothers and that they're supposed to manage their household well. So I would say we're all involved in household management, and raising children is a part of that. Ephesians 6 says specifically, fathers, do not provoke your children to wrath, and then bring them up in the instruction and the discipline of the Lord. And so it is the father's responsibility
Gotcha.
that this happens in your household. If it doesn't happen in your household, it's the father's problem.
Sure.
That he's not leading his household well.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that. Now, some moms are good at it, gifted in it. Some families, the mom grew up in a household where it was done really well. And the dad's behind the 8 ball because he didn't have a dad.
Sure.
And he's trying to figure out how to be a dad when he hadn't had a dad. And I would say lean into church family. I would say read your Bible. I would say try your best. Talk to some people. Try to figure out ways to do it. You're still responsible for this happening in your household.
Well, and you can use your, like in that hypothetical scenario, you can use your teammate.
Right.
To be, but it's still on you.
Right.
Just because she has the back knowledge of it, you're still responsible for it. So if you want to learn from here, fine, great. But you've got to take responsibility. Yes.
And these are your children. You're responsible for them. You're going to be held accountable for them. And that's one of the things that you got to realize too, is that sometimes people are like, I don't like how you do that. And it's like, all right, well, they're my children. And that may be the case. You may be listening to me and going, I don't like that. It's like, okay, well, they're your children. So you're going to have to raise them. You're going to have to structure how you're going to do that. But you should do it with intentionality, and you should do it with care, and you should do it looking at the children and going, is there joy here? Do they walk around whining nonstop? Are they miserable? Are they only happy if they have exactly what they want? Do I have to pump them full of sugar and television to make them not be mean to me? It's like, okay, well, these are things that you should be gauging. Like, are we doing this well? But I would say biblically the weight is on the dad, not to say that the mom can't or the mom can't be good at it, or you can't be in a situation where you go, she's got some really good stuff here.
Sure.
And y'all team up. But ultimately at the end of it, it's on husband, father, whatever the system is. And you can say, well, my wife picked that. It's like, what? But you're husband, father. So are you going?
Carry it.
Yeah. Are you going with it? Are you changing it? Are you whatever? But ultimately at the end of this, you gotta go head of household this and talk to the Lord about it.
Sure.
So I would say yes. I would say that temperamentally, I think most, not all, most dads are temperamentally more designed to do it. Men don't have hormonal changes throughout the month that just adjusts on them that they can't. I was talking to someone the other day and I said, it'd be like, I've never once, because my hormones just are basically the same. If I had to inject you with like an extra dose of adrenaline and an extra dose of testosterone and then just go function normally today, it'd be like, what? Why? How would I do that? No, I need to be away from people. That's like full moon werewolf stuff, whatever. And it's like, so there are some things where it's like you should be able to put forth the energy, the consistency, the whatever. And also one of the things that I found that's beautiful about the way my wife and I do this, she always is in their head, in their space, in this moment. I am not. They'll do stuff, and I see stuff 20 years from now. And I'm like, oh no, not doing that. Not having a kid, don't know how to have a job. Like, he's like, and she's like, he's nowhere near having a job. I'm like, he's going to have one day. We're not having this. And she's like, you know, he's 6, right? And I'm like, you know that he's going to be older. We've consistently, I'll go, Anna, he's 5. And she'll go, yeah, he's 5. And I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? She's like, what do you mean by that? Because I'm seeing where we're going. She's seeing where they are. I walked in one time. I don't remember the exact situation. One of the kids was doing something. I walked in there and was like, go to sleep. Like, I walked into their bedroom. They were making noise or whatever. And I came out. She goes, is that because she thought I had gone in there and asked him how he was doing. I had not. I had gone in there and said, be quiet. And she said, is it because of, and there was some real thing that he had going on that I knew nothing about. She said, is his stomach still hurting or whatever? And I was like, what? And she was like, is that why he was making noise? And I was like, oh, I don't know. I just told him to be quiet. And she was like, he's been feeling like he was going to throw up for the past hour. And I'm like, oh, really? Because she's in the moment with him, and that's really helpful. And so, but that makes her really bad a lot of times. That's why she would say, oh, he's hungry. And she would want to excuse his behavior or whatever. And I'm like, he can't behave like that ever.
Sure.
And so I just have found personally, and this is, I'm speaking from the situation I'm in, it's easier for me to hold the line on a system. And then she actually gets to operate a lot more freely in being just kind to them. So there are times where, like, they get disciplined, they get corrected. I tell them I love them, I leave. And she's like, I'm going to go in there. And I'm like, okay, but you can't act like they're a victim. You can be nice to them. She feels bad that they got in trouble. She knows they should get in trouble. She's glad that they do.
Sure.
She still doesn't want it to ever happen, and she does feel bad. And I'm like, just don't act like they got bullied because they didn't. But you can go in there and be nice to them because he is crying and he's upset that he had to go to bed or whatever. She's like, okay, and she's just in the moment with him a little more. And so I would just say that's not the case for everybody. It's not the case for every household. Men can't abdicate. And you can't just go, well, I'm not good at it, or I don't know how, or I never saw. It's like, well, then, okay, those are all reasons why this will be harder for you, but you still have to do it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And if your wife's really good at it, sweet. That's great. Then be a good team.
Yeah. This might not even end up showing up on what's going to be here. But I feel like one last thing, this might be true for a child that grows up inside of a system that you're talking about as in terms of your personal experience. It's also probably likely that there is somebody listening to this and they like what they're hearing, but it hasn't been the system. And so now they've got a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old, whatever, and they're having a hard time with it. How do you have any practical advice for the absolute most stubborn of children that do not respond? You say earlier, you were like, people say spanking doesn't work, and I say, did you try it once? Have you ever asked somebody the question and they say, I've been trying it for 3 months straight and it feels like nothing's changed? Do you have any kind of helpful framework for addressing that kind of situation? And I do want to caveat with, I understand that probably is a super contextually based question.
That's what I was going to first say, is that it would really matter whether we're talking about a defiant 12-year-old or a defiant 4-year-old.
Sure.
Like those things matter, and those are very different on how you're going to try to approach those things. And I would say that if you, in the example you gave, I've been doing this for 3 months and it hasn't worked. That was me. That was me. That was our household.
Gotcha.
It was like 2 years. Now, it was working because he didn't like it when he got popped. And it was working because we were holding the line and the system was the same.
Sure.
But you can go talk to, I've had people go, oh, I remember what Archer was like. It's like, yeah, they watched me at different things. I had people in our church family trying to save him from situations where they're like, do you want me to carry him around? I'm like, no, I want him to stay in this chair. And if he doesn't stay in this chair, like there was one whole church family gathering thing where I just stood over a chair popping a child because he was going to learn. And people were coming by and like, are you okay? And I'm like, we're going to be. But that's because he couldn't win. Because if Archer learned that after 2 hours I would quit, then we would do this for 2 hours every time. Because that's what he was like at 2 and 3. So I would just say, are you being consistent? Are you seeking their good? Are you being encouraging and kind and nice when you can be? Like, are you praising them when you can? Then it is working. Keep at it. Now, if we're talking about an 11-year-old or a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old, it's like that. I will try to help you think through this. That's real late on trying to suddenly do some of these things, but those things can't happen, and they can because some of it is it's going to be harder for y'all to shift into it and come up with a new system, but you can do it because a 12 or a 13 or 14-year-old can, in a foster situation, go into a place where there is some discipline and adjust to it. So a 12, 13, 14-year-old can do this. Now, sometimes they won't, but they can. A 9-year-old can, a 7-year-old can. You're just going to have to start holding the line. And what I would say is that you have bad patterns that you're over. In some ways, it's like you're trying to quit smoking or you're trying to go on a diet when you've never done that. Like it's a lot of work on you to hold the new line that they're not used to, and they're gonna buck up against. Absolutely, they're gonna buck up against because they don't want any of these things. And it's like, does my child want to eat candy for supper? Yeah. Will that make him feel good? No. Is he still going to want to do it again tomorrow? Yeah. if I let him do this, eventually he might learn that amount of candy will make me sick, but it'll take him a while,
Sure.
and he's still going to have a hard time regulating himself. So the adult is the one who's going to have to regulate. And the truth is, there's probably more joy for them in a household where there's discipline and there's a bedtime and there are consequences. Even though they're going to hate it all along the way, it'll get to a place where there's more joy. So I would say if you're starting late, okay, come up with a system, and then hold the line. Explain the system, articulate to them what's happening now, and then keep at it. And they're going to test. Are you serious? Or is this the thing you're going to do for a month? You've announced this. That's it. From now on, we're whatever. And you've said that sentence 1,000 times. From now on, this is what's going to happen. And that's a lie.
Sure.
It's a month or 2 weeks while you think about it, and then you're going to forget, or you're going to whatever.
Sure. Gotcha.
We're never eating pizza in this house again. Well, okay.
Gotcha.
Whatever. So I would just say, and then, be consistent and get some people around you to help.
Yeah. Well, I think the conversation's been helpful to me. Hopefully it's been helpful to somebody else that might be listening to this. I don't know. Maybe they're not even listening to this part. Because once again, we've gone, buddy, way over.
I am a pastor at this church, so if anybody has questions or concerns or wants to come talk to me more about it or ask more specifics or whatever, I'll happily meet with people and talk about it.
I think I was planning on having a post afterward, always. If you have more questions about it,
that's probably good.
Yeah. It's amazing. You said 2 pastors down in a room to talk. You can't keep them to 25 minutes.
I'm just as surprised as you are.
All righty. I think we're done. Thanks for joining me today in this conversation about parenting. I hope it was helpful to you and that it sparks good conversation for your own family. I know that each family is unique, and you're going to have your own questions about whatever you're facing with your kids. So don't ever hesitate to reach out to other families in our church or your pastors about any help that you might need as a parent.